So it seems like I look back on my videos because I always have like a lot going on up here, and then I release it and I'm like, yeah, that's what I wanted to say most of the time. Uh, but this one is like, I don't know, seems to be like a lot or something, because in one way there's this picture of what a Christian, what it seems to be that like in darkness we have been taught. It's almost like this blindfold has been on us to act right. This is where we've been deceived, right? This fear has held us down and said you need to act right. And it's not just that we need to act right, but it begins to form our perspective of where we look to things to get us to act right, right? Confirmation on how to act right, right? We're like trying to self-parent because we feel like orphans. We pick up the Bible. We can't help but view the Bible from this perspective of how do I act right? And this is where I feel this anger in the believer, and that being the natural progress of just being matured in the Lord. I think that you're going to have an angry season. You're going to have a season of grief, right? And it's not going to be bad and it's not going to be off, but it probably will feel that way because we're taught, it seems to be, we're held down by fear to try to be docile, especially as Christians or something. We're supposed to take the higher road every time or whatever. We're taught how to behave. And this perspective very much is like, this is how you act right, and this is what we do, and this is what we don't do. And so when we read the Bible, we read it from that self-parenting kind of place where we already feel off. You know, listening to a dad that we think that he's like, just do what I say, just do what I say. And then this is what he's about. This is what God is about. And so you go, and if you're going to have a relationship with God, you have to pick up what he likes, right? You have to be in his sphere. You have to speak his language. We try to put on where he is, but he's not asking us to put on where he is. And I think this is where we've been deceived, because we approach the Father thinking that he's like what we have learned about him in the darkness. We think that he's going to try to get us to act right, that he's about us being docile. He's about us being even keeled. He's about us having self-control and self-discipline and representing him in that way. Being like Jesus in this way where we put it upon ourselves to act right, act like Jesus acted. But Jesus didn't act like anything. He knew who he was to the Father. He could see the Father and how the Father felt about him, and their relationship was one because there wasn't this darkness concerning the Father. Jesus got angry. Jesus wept. Jesus went through all of the human experiences on this earth, the emotions and everything. He was not trying to act right. He did not have to put on acting right. This seems to be this thing that we've developed in the darkness. And it's very much in the church, where it's like you have this thing called like Christian guilt or something, right? Where this Christian guilt, this fear and this compliance is trying to get you to do certain things and not do other things. And we spend a lot of time not trying to mess up, right? But we're just trying to avoid accusation. We're trying to avoid these Christian guilt traps or whatever. This is where I believe you will become angry as the Lord opens you up to the truth, right? You will become angry, I believe, as the Holy Spirit reveals the truth to you. The truth being this, that you've been deceived. You've been deceived to believe that God is a certain way and that you need to be a certain way. Maybe this is mainly for the religious community or something, the people that have grew up in the church and had this image of what a Christian is supposed to be like. But I also think it applies everywhere. I think it's kind of in the system of the world to be one who doesn't speak, who isn't bold, right? And someone who, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, like someone who's not disruptive or rebellious or savage in any kind of way, someone who's not wild, right? A very domesticated, nice Christian person. But Jesus was not this. No.
but we can't put that on. You know what I'm saying? Because we're taught to put things on, right? And we come from this perspective of trying to act right. We have to act right. And by acting right, we put on these things. And then we say these words. But there's no conviction in them because it hasn't been uncovered in us. And I think part of where you're going to find your conviction, your personal conviction, is where you have been deceived. Where you will find that you are angry at the reality that you've been deceived. As this walk with God is not a linear path, but a very messy, rocky road that is so emotionally just like all over the place. I don't know how it cannot be. The thing that connected me with the Bible, the very, very first thing, was the Psalms. And I think what connected me to the Bible was like I was actually reading like someone who is going through it with God. And it was honest, it was raw, it was real, it was wild. You know, and I think we're in the church that we've had this mask or whatever where it's just like everything in the Bible is true, 100% true. And I'm like, yeah, but in what context? Because I very much believe now, and I don't know how to not believe this, but that the people that were writing the Bible were also in darkness, in a place coming to know the truth, meaning they didn't already know it, meaning we're human beings, all in different processes, all in different places, and the Holy Spirit is leading us into maturity. And I don't think that everyone that wrote in the Bible were 100% mature. And the evidence of this is what their behavior was like. But it wasn't this like they should have acted better. It's what their behavior represented where they were in their understanding. Like David had, right? David, right? He had his friend killed or something because of Bathsheba, or maybe it wasn't his friend. Bathsheba's husband or something, right? That's not like cool, man. You know what I'm saying? But it's not something that you just like, oh, I'm not going to do that. Like, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. It's like, it's not about that. It's like this person had this understanding, right? God seems to use weak people in the Bible that didn't know everything already. And he did not need them to know everything already. And it seems like the blueprint of honesty, transparency, unity was one where Jesus had with the Father. And it wasn't about acting right. I think that we've been deceived to believe that we're supposed to act right, and we avoid trying to act wrong. And we have all these Christian guilt traps that we're trying to avoid. But we're very much not real people when we are in this place. And I think God has to come in and allow the pressure to become so great that gets squeezed out of us. We feel ashamed of what comes out of us because how we've been taught to act right. And so when you fall apart and everything is messy and your demeanor is a little wild and savage, you think that God's going to tell you to straighten up. But he doesn't with me. No, he seems to actually encourage that wild part of me. He's like, Brandon, you're a little savage. You weren't made to be domesticated. You weren't made to be molded by the fears of other men before you. And this is what I feel like I want to capture mainly in this video is that the Christian is going to become very angry in their walk with God because they are one that is confronted with the truth where people have been born into darkness and stay in darkness. The Christian is exposed to light by his grace that then shows them the truth, the path that they have walked on where they have been deceived. This is going to make you feel angry as you realize that you've been robbed and there's been an injustice set upon you. The whole Christian trap, guilt, shame thing gets bursted, right? Or burst or busted. I don't know, whatever. It breaks and you find that you're no longer like in this trance of trying to do the right thing and act right or whatever. You found that you were only doing that. You were only on that hamster wheel because you were deceived. And that's going to piss you off. It's going to make you mad. It's going to feel like all of those years were lost. And I think this is God's intention, to give it all back to you, to redeem the years. But before he does that, he shows you that the years have been stolen from you. Stolen from you in the fact that you were deceived, born into darkness, and fear and compliance has tried to set in on you and tell you what to say and when to say it, right? That God is this way and he's not that way. And our perspective of him is correct. And we need to act right with him. And he's like this. And you're going to come to find out he's not like that. And that's going to piss you off. Good. Let that piss you off because that's good.